Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're from. J Rowe here, host, Big Hair Hits, every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m., AlleghenyMountainRadio.org. We're going to do an overview of the ATARI 5200, the second system in the Atari family, first starting with the 2600, and then going on to the 5200 to the 2600, which is over here. We'll just go through a few differences. It is right over here, manufactured from 1977 and then up until late 80s, maybe even early 90s in different packaging and iterations. But this version with the wood grain and all that came out from the late 70s to about the mid 80s, and you got all the switches on there and all that kind of stuff. Games, boom, pretty small. I mean, you see how big my hand is here, so regular size, no big deal. Cosmic Creeps, boom. Power supply, no big deal, right? Kind of small. And you got your joystick controllers. I mean, this is a this is a crazy one. This one's cordless, but they're a little smaller. The usual ones, and one button, that's it, right? Right, no big deal. Other things that go with it: trackballs, paddle controllers, whatnot. Okay, fine. But then around 1983, Atari felt they needed something new, so it came out with the 5200. Now, comparatively speaking, this is, I think, the biggest video game console that's ever been created, I think. Here's a 2600. We'll set it right on top, and you can see how it still is sticking out there. And comparatively speaking, we'll take like a regular DVD case. Boom, it goes two going that way and two going that way, so it takes up a lot of desk space. Normally it would be on the floor, but back in the 80s. And all this really is a repackaged Atari 8-bit computer, where the technology was created in 1979 in the Atari 400 and the Atari 800, and then those computers were again repackaged in different iterations throughout the 80s. And the Atari 8-bit computers, along with this machine, has the comparable performance of the Commodore 64 computer that I just did a video on the other day. Color, music, sound, all that kind of stuff, right? So, what's the difference? Well, enhanced graphics, enhanced gameplay, supposedly. This machine only lasted 1 year, and mainly it's because people who owned a 2600 were not used to buying new games, new software. They get a new machine, and then you're trying to say, hey, wait a minute, now I gotta buy new software. I mean, look at these things. These things are a little bigger, and as people are used to, they just slip in right there. But they didn't like that, so it took Atari about a year to catch on, to come up with some type of adapter to stick in the slot, and then you can use your 2600 games on it. But it was a little too late. And the reason this thing didn't do too well was because, again, these 5200 games, as you can see, Berserk, Ms. Pac-Man, Defender, Super Breakout, Missile Command, they're all available on the 2600. Just better graphics, better sound. But this was the killer right here, was the controller, where the 2600s had one button. This thing's got a keypad, two over here, two over there. And not only is it a more complex, you got three buttons up here, complex unit, but the stick itself is kind of squishy. It doesn't self-center. Basically, it's the first analog stick. One of the first. I mean, some Apple computers and PC computers back in the 80s had sticks similar to this. As far as a home video game console, this was the first one. It spins, which you would think would be good for a game like Super Breakout or Kaboom, but it has really no function spinning. But for games that require precision, such as Pac-Man, anything that has a maze or Frogger with just 4 directions, up, down, left, right, become quite a challenge. I don't have problems with it, but a lot of people had problems with it. But everybody had problems with, myself included, so that these things weren't very reliable. Not so much the stick, but the buttons I've taken one of these apart before, and the contacts get really dirty, and I had to take a pencil eraser on the inside of this thing and scrape it, and all the dirt comes off, and still it's kind of iffy if they'll work or not. Same thing with these buttons up here, the keypad. A lot of the games came out with little overlays, and I don't own any of the overlays. They're kind of hard to get. And just stayed over there and just labeled what the buttons are for. And when you're done with your overlay, it just kind of slides onto the back of the cartridge. Kind of handy, just so you don't lose them. So yeah, that's the basic, problem with the unit. So if you end up getting one of these things on eBay, they get kind of expensive, and finding working controllers can be a challenge too. This unit was given to me by a friend about 10 years ago, and just gave it up for free, no big deal. And some innovations with this unit, it can handle 4 players, which is kind of neat. And as you can see, as I tip this thing up, there's a secret compartment in the back that's supposed to hold your controllers. So realistically, this unit could probably be like about that big. So I don't know why it's so huge, but as you can see, you take the controller out and there's nothing back there. Boom. So, there it is. Trying to be convenient, I suppose. And let's see, what else we got here? Kind of an unusual way of hooking things up. Here's the switch box right here. And from the machine, you plug it in here. And then normally, like the 2600 and other game systems of the time, you just take the power supply and plug it directly into the system. Here's a big fat brick. And you plug it directly into the system and then plug it into the wall. But this one, you don't do that. You plug it into the switch box and then plug the system into there, and you plug that into the back of your TV. Supposedly it's a fire hazard now, I'm told. And I have seen sparks come out of that thing before, so they redesigned it and made it kind of old-fashioned where the power goes into the unit, into the wall, and then signal cord here goes into the switch unit, into the TV. So a little safer. But here's some of my favorite games I got here. Berserk. This is the best home version of Berserk you can buy. And what's cool is the arcade version that came out in 1980. The gimmick in the arcade was the voice. It'd say intruder alert and chicken fight like a robot, stuff like that. And home systems at the time could not imitate that. However, they got this, they must have put in a special chip or something, and the voice comes out in the game. So it's really cool, very unique in that way. This one's exclusive to the 5200. 5200, as far as I know, this is the only game that was exclusive to it. The rest are just enhanced 2600 or Atari 8-bit computer versions. It's a tank game. It has to do with nuclear war and stuff. Pretty cool. Ms. Pac-Man, probably the best home version of Ms. Pac-Man you can get. Very good. Missile Command. Super Breakout's fun. Defender. Robotron, you take two joysticks, one to move and one to fire. So that's very fun. Pac-Man. So those are my favorites. Some others that I have. Kicks by Taito. Jungle Hunt, also by Taito. Galaxian, classic Namco. Qbert, Pole Position. Vanguard. Kangaroo, River Raid. Centipede, and Football. And again, all these games you see here, you can get downgraded versions on the 2600. That's why people were confused. Feel like I got to pay hundreds of dollars for another system and even more money for the games, and that was ridiculous. So we're gonna hook this puppy up and play. That'll be another video, but there it is, the Atari 5200. And if you're going to get one, I highly recommend getting Berserk. And if you get it off eBay, every lot on eBay has at least one copy of Pac-Man. So Pac-Man's really good too. That's it. Big Hair Hits, AlleghenyMountainRadio.org. Every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. We'll see you next time. Same bad time, same bad channel.